Hello, welcome to another video from EarnPed.com. I am StevieB, happy to have you all with me today. So guys, today I want to tell you about a service that a friend of mine, Xanato Xan Kaso, runs. It's a rental service, and this is something we haven't really talked about before, and it's something that I think a lot of players just don't know about and don't understand. And it's a way that you guys can play smarter, not harder. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. This is probably going to be something for higher-end players or players who depot on a regular basis. And for the most part, that is true. But there's also some stuff in here that is going to be really good for a lot of our Stevies out there that are free-to-play or low-depot players. So first of all, let's jump right in. If you'll notice, I am on Planet Calypso Forum. That is where his thread is. You all know my feelings on that. Planet Calypso Forum is the absolute crap hole of Entropia universe, but that's where the thread is, so that's where I wanted to show you. Again, you can see his name right there, Xanato. Let me be sure I pronounce this right. Xanato Xan Kaso. Kaso? Kaso. K-A-S-O. His real name is Chris. He lives in Florida, and this is pretty much his full-time gig. Chris is a really good guy. And it's really handy because it allows him to be on at all kinds of times whenever he needs to be. So first of all, let me explain how I think theoretically a rental service in-game should work. And unfortunately, it's a game mechanic we do not have, and then I will explain how it does work and why you guys will want to use it, because this is going to be super handy regardless of whether you're free-to-play, low depot, or a long-term regular deposit player. So first of all, I believe there should be an in-game mechanic similar to a shopkeeper pad, but is a rental keeper pad. And what it would do is you could put the items you wanted to allow players to rent in it and set a rental fee per day, per hour, whatever. And just like with the shopkeeper, people could come up, browse it, and they could say, oh, I would like to rent this item. And they would be able to select it and would say, how long would you like to rent it for? They could pick their rental period, and they would pay. PED would come off with their card, go to the person who owned the rental keeper pad. I'm sure Mindark would get a cut of some sort, and then the item would be transferred into that person's inventory. Now, when that happened, it would be protected. It could not be traded. It could not be sold. It could only be used. The countdown timer would begin, and whenever the rental period was up, the system would automatically snatch it back from the player and put it back in into the rental keeper pad inventory, aka it would go back to its original owner. Now, I think that would be very simple to implement. I'm kind of surprised Mindark has not done that. Unfortunately, it's just something that doesn't exist in game. And where Xanato really shines is knowing that rentals can be a huge money saver for most players. He has created a service that is absolutely outstanding. It is probably the best rental service I've ever seen. And this is coming from a guy who's done rentals before on both sides, renting items and renting out items. And it's going to give you access to millions of PED worth of high-end and even unique, one-of-a-kind gear that you would not otherwise be able to get your hands on at a ridiculously cheap price. And you will see very soon how this can be super important for those of you out there who are wanting to play smarter, not harder. So let me explain the way it actually works. You pick the item you want, and we'll get to that in just a second, and there's going to be some amount of collateral. Now, the collateral is actually going to be probably a little bit above the market value of the item, and that is for two reasons. Number one, some of these items are unique, so if you were to run off with the item you rented, there would be no way to replace it. Number two, some of them are so hard to find that even if you could replace it, it would take thousands of man-hours to try and accomplish that task. So what you do is, let's say you wanted to rent an item. Let's say it was a gun, a pistol, let's say. And it had a market value of, I don't know, 15,000 PED. And let's say the collateral requirement was 18,000 PED and the rental fee was, I don't know, 100 PED a day. You would get with Xanato via private message or in-game mail. You would tell him which weapon you're interested in, all that good stuff. And then essentially you meet up in-game, and there would be a private message he opens. He's very detailed. He goes over all the details with you in a private message to be sure everybody's on the same page. And then you would give him collateral. Now, you're not going to give him 9 billion different things and 50,000 different stacks. This is why CLD and AUD have a mechanic of value that shares like Crystal Palace, New Treasure Island, and Ancient Greece do not. Shares like Crystal Palace, Treasure Island, Ancient Greece, they cannot be used as collateral. CLD, CLDX, Moon Deeds, Underground Deeds can be used as collateral, and you can put them in one nice neat stack. So that's super helpful. So let's say in this case the market value was 15,000 PED and the collateral was 18,000 PED. Not a problem. I've got 6 CLD. I give him 6 CLD. He gives me the item. Let's say the rental fee was 100 PED a day. I'm renting it for 5 days. I would give him 500 PED for the rental fee up front. I go out, I use the item, we meet back up, I give him the item back, I get my collateral back, everybody's happy. Now, because Xanato is able to make this more or less his full-time gig, he's able to be in-game a lot more than most players. He's also very easy to get a hold of. I'm able to get a hold of him through Facebook quite easy. I believe he also has a Discord set up, which is where a lot of people get a hold of him. He lives here in the United States in Florida, so time zones could kind of be a little bit of a problem, but he's really, really easy to work with. I've done several rentals with him in the past. I actually just put down a deposit on another rental I'm going to be doing with him in a couple of weeks. Very, very excited about that. So good stuff there. I love working with him. He always goes above and beyond. But let me show you some of the reasons why this service is going to be so valuable to you, because I know some of you are thinking, okay, how does that help me? Well, let's say that you wanted to be a healer for hire, but you're a low depot player. You don't have a ton of petting game. You've just got a little bit. You can't compete with the guys that have a mod 2600 FAP and an adjusted restoration chip and divine intervention and stuff like that, right? Well, you come to Xanato, and we start going through the stuff he's got, and I'm going to skip over some of the stuff. We'll come back to it here in a minute. And you see that he's got an adjusted restoration chip, and you can rent it for only 10 PED a day. And he's got a divine intervention chip that you can rent for only 10 PED a day. And you also notice that he's got an EMT 2600 modified that you can rent. Now notice the rental fee isn't listed. That's because it changes based off, is there an event like summer migration going on? Is there not an event going on? So the rental fee changes on that one quite often. But what you'll notice is everything I just named that you need to be a high-end paramedic for hire, a high-end Fapper for hire, you can literally rent. So instead of tying up 5,000 PED in an adjusted restoration chip and another 2,000 PED in a divine intervention chip, you can just pay 20 PED a day to rent them. So $2 a day, bada bing, bada boom. You've got an adjusted restoration chip, a divine intervention chip. Well, if you only get healing jobs 1 day a week, let's say you're only off on Saturday, and you've got 3 jobs lined up for this Saturday, and you're going to be going for a total of 3 hours per job, 9 hours total, and you've got your clients lined up back to back. You don't have to rent it for multiple days. You could do a 1-day rental, 10 PED on the adjusted restoration chip, 10 PED on divine intervention. So for $2, you've got $700 worth of in-game gear. So for 20 PED, you've got 7,000 PED worth of gear. Now, yes, you do have to have the collateral, but that is a huge, huge savings over buying it and then having to just keep it, especially if it's not something that you do, 7 days a week. You could also rent the FAP from him. Now, let's say you want to go a step further. He's also got a lot of great rings. You could rent a ring from him. 1 ring, 70 PED for 24 hours. 2 rings, 120 PED for 24 hours. Shorter duration rentals are available. Now, again, you're going to have collateral. Some of these rings are 10, 15,000 PED. Some of them are 30, 35,000 PED. But some of these rings could easily give you max reload speed. So if you've got the collateral in game, this is by far a cheaper way to add Fapper for hire to your repertoire than simply going out and buying a mod 2600, adjusted restoration, divine intervention, a left-hand ring, a right-hand ring, and everything else you need. You can just rent it all for a fraction of what it actually costs. So if you want to be a Fapper for hire 1 day a week, 1 day a month, 1 day every 6 months, you can do that without having to tie up thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, when we go through this list of everything he's got, you're going to see exactly how this, on a magnificent scale, is a super, super valuable resource for people that are in-game that want to do different things, whether you want to be a hunter, whether you want to do events, whether you want to be a Fapper for hire. Vampiric Cloak of Vitality, 10 PED a day. It gives you 12 extra HP. That's an item that in-game goes for like 15,000 PED. An Imperium Improved Set Mail, 15% critical damage, 15% evade, 25 PED a day. A Rage 25 Unlimited BLP Amp, it does 27 damage plus 20% critical damage, only 10 PED a day. Omegaton Ranger Scope MK1 gives you a 1% critical chance, 20 PED a day, so $2 a day. That scope, if I recall right, sells for about 130 to 150,000 PED. There's only one of them, it's unique. So again, you would have to have quite a bit of collateral there. I could be wrong, I could be thinking of the MK2, but the MK1 is also exceedingly, exceedingly rare. So lots and lots of value there, and you're able to rent it for $2 a day. Armor, he's got Angel Armor SGA, male and female, tier 4 and 5. Improved Imperium, male and female. Lycan female, you're looking at 20 to 25 PED a day to rent this stuff. Now, yes, the collateral on the Imperium is 25,000. The Angel Armor is 30,000. Would you rather buy a set of unlimited Angel Armor for 30,000 PED, or would you rather rent a set of Angel Armor that's tier 4, tier 5 for $2.50 a day? Think about it. It's a no-brainer, right? We already covered the EMT 2600 modified. When it comes to rings, he's got the Easter 2017, Easter 2020, Easter 2021, Easter 2022, the one that I just got that I showed you guys yesterday, Summer 19, Summer 20, Halloween 18, 2021, Christmas 16, 17, 19, 20, some very, very powerful rings. You can rent one, you can rent two, you get a discount if you rent two, and remember, you can go shorter than a one-day duration on it. He's got a modified Mind Force implant. That's something in my upcoming video about Mind Force that's going to drop y'all's jaws. Y'all will see why that's super, super handy. Let's say you're into laser amps. The Omegaton A101, 102, 103, 104, 105, the hypercharged 105. Guys, you're looking at 5 PED to 10 PED for those amps. The Fire Code Beast, 5 PED. The Rage 25, 10 PED. How about this? Melee Trauma Amp 1, 5 PED a day. Melee Trauma Amp 4 and 6, 5 PED a day. Melee Trauma Amp 7, 10 PED a day. So 50 cents to $1 a day for amps that can cost anywhere from several hundred to several thousand PED to purchase. Now, when we get down into the weapons, this is where the rental service really shines. Notice there is no fee per day. I'll get to that in a second. Notice that with the weapons, it gives you the weapon, the collateral, the tier of the weapon, and then the skill to max the weapon and the base DPS. Ignore all this other stuff over here. And if you go to the actual forum, these are links to the wiki. And if it doesn't have the link, you can pull it up on the wiki. So the MK2 adjusted, collateral 3000 PED. Tier 6, I believe this is actually my old MK2 because there was only 3 Tier 6s in game and I had one of them. This is one of the first ones that I ever used for Mayhem back when I very first started. It was my first unlimited weapon. All the way up to the CDF XTLC 800, 100,000 PED collateral, Tier 10, base DPS 102.2. So without an amp, just base DPS plus 10 damage enhancers, you're pumping out 204.4 damage per second. A buddy of mine recently rented this one for a couple of days, and he said the damage output was absolutely insane. Pistols, you got all kinds of good stuff. You got the H41, you got the Mayhem Cobalt, the Enigma L2. Again, collateral, tier, skill to max. Melee, you've got the Imbra Laser Sword C1 adjusted, the Akis Fire Dagger, the Nano Katana, Genesis Arc Spark improved Manta. Somebody just yesterday was complaining about how the Nano Katana is like 15,000 PED to buy. Well, yeah, it's 15,000 PED to buy, which means there would be 15,000 plus PED collateral to rent it from Xanato, but the rental fee is not going to be nearly what it would be to actually purchase. Mind Force, you've got some cool stuff. Unlimited ships, Electric 2 and Electric 2 First Gen, Arsenic 3 10 Edition, Kinetic 3, 4, and 5, Combustive 5, Cryo 5 and 6, Kinetic 6 and 8. And again, tiers anywhere from 0 to 8 on those. And then you get down to the Loot 2.0 weapons. You don't have to buy a weak Argonaut Claw FEN. You can rent it. You don't have to buy a Mayhem BC30 modified or even an LP40 perfected. You can rent it. As long as you have the collateral, you're good to go. Now, the reason that there's no associated price here, and keep in mind the collateral and prices on this forum post are all going to be subject to change. They're going to be on a first-come, first-served basis. They're going to be subject to change at any time. And they're going to probably be on a case-by-case basis, too. But part of the reason that the weapons do not have prices associated with them other than the collateral is there's kind of like an outside of Mayhem price and an inside of Mayhem price, because obviously they are usually more during Mayhem. And if you go up to the very top, he actually kind of tells you the formula. Weapon rates are determined at time of rental to ensure they are more cost effective than using limited weapons of equal DPS. They are fixed per diem value for the duration of rental. All weapon rentals are determined by their base per diem rate plus 5% per tier. So a 100 PED a day gun, 100 PED a day rental rate for a gun at tier 10 would be 150 PED a day for Mayhem. Now, as somebody who has rented weapons from Xanato for Mayhem, and somebody who has bought weapons off auction that were limited Armatrix weapons and paid that markup, and as somebody who has also crafted their own weapons for entire Mayhems, I can tell you that I greatly regret not just simply renting a weapon every single time. I regret trying to craft my own. I regret buying them off auction, because the rental fee, even though it could be several thousand PED, it might be 2, 3, 4, 5,000 PED, depending on which weapon you buy, even more. The amount of money you're going to save is ridiculous. Just think of like an LR60. If you've got like 125, 130 PED TT value, and they're going for 150%, you're spending an extra 60 PED per weapon. Well, if you're burning a weapon every hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe 3 if you're lucky, and you're running around the clock, you're going through 7 weapons a day, that's $6 times 7 weapons, 60 PED times 7 weapons a day. You're easily going through 350 PED just in markup a day. If you're doing that for 3 weeks at a time, you're easily at 5, 6, 7,000 PED. And the problem with buying the weapons or crafting the weapons is they start off at tier 0, they slowly tick up. From somebody who's done it, probably 90% of the weapons that are out there that you get at full TT that are limited to Armatrix weapons, they're going to eventually get to tier 3 before they burn up as they slowly tick up. If you're really lucky, it might barely hit tier 4. Probably about another 10 to 15% are going to get to tier 4 and maybe a little bit into tier 5. And then there's probably about 3% of weapons out there that are eventually going to be tier 7, 8, 9, or 10. But once you get them there, they're going to burn up really fast. Versus with an unlimited rental, you're able to throw damage enhancers from the get-go and just go out and start slaying. So I really regret the Mayhems that I did not rent from Xanato. I actually already put my deposit down for Summer Mayhem, which is coming up sometime next month in June. So already got it taken care of, because I'm not going there again. I'm not going to try and craft my own amps and my own weapons. I'm not going to try and buy them off auction. It just makes no sense with where I am in game and what my goals are. So really happy I got my deposit in, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to tell you guys about it. I've made that mistake. I've made the mistake of using this service, then not using this service, and trying to do it a different way. This is the best way to do it. If you're serious about grinding out Mayhem, if you're serious about doing a lot of hunting over a several week or month-long period, and you're trying to be as economical as possible, this service is a lifesaver, because you would never be able to realistically put together this kind of a collection of gear in-game for anywhere near the kind of money that we're talking here. Plus, like I said, it gives you a lot of options. If you decide you want to be a hunter for 2 weeks, and then on a Saturday you want to be a Fapper for hire with the best gear in game, you can do it. And you're talking, hundreds, if not thousands of PED out of pocket versus tens, if not hundreds of thousands of PED out of pocket, right? And like I said, a lot of this stuff is unique. A lot of this stuff there's only one of. That CDF XTLC 800 that we looked at, tier 10, there's only one of those in game. That's it. That's the only one. M83 Predator tier 8, good luck getting your hands on one of those without dropping 50,000 plus PED. DOA Slugstorm tier 9, good luck getting your hands on one of those without dropping 50,000 plus PED, versus just paying a couple thousand PED rental fee to rent it for potentially several weeks. Totally worth it, especially depending on if you're trying to finish missions or farm a certain mob. Totally worth it. Now, I told you guys we would get to a part that is even better for those of you who might not have 20, 30, 40, 50,000 PED in collateral available in your account. Forget everything we're looking at here. What if you could rent a warp-capable ship for 100 PED a day that did not require collateral? Well, there's a separate thread on Planet Calypso Forum by Xanato where he has a warp-capable ship that you can rent for 100 PED a day, no collateral required. The reason being is because the mechanics are different when it comes to warp-capable ships. Xanato never has to give up the deed to the ship, meaning he can add you so you can pilot it, he can add you to the guest list so you can be on it, you can fly it, you can shoot space mobs, you can go do all the VSE skilling you want, do all the repair skilling you want, travel all over the universe all you want, but you would never be able to steal his ship because he never has to come off the deed. So because of that, you can rent the ship without having to give any collateral at all. So for a whopping $10 a day, for a whopping 100 PED a day, you can have a warp-capable ship. You can go out and hunt all the space mobs you want. You don't have to tell anybody you're going to be doing it. You can go out and do all the VSE skilling you want. Don't have to tell anybody you're doing it. You can go out and get all those sweet repair skills while getting all those sweet captain skills. Now, personally, have I used that service? No, because I am loyal to the Cronin. I've been a part of the crew forever, and I just, have to have my loyalty where it is. But it's a great service for those who maybe don't do a lot of repair skilling, don't have a lot of time, or don't want to be part of a long-term mothership crew. Now, there is, because it is a warp-capable ship, you can warp between planets. So the one time I might use this service is if like I only had, I don't know, 14 hours free on a Saturday, and I needed to get to every single planet like 6 times to take care of different stuff. In that case, this definitely might be worth it for me, because I could just bounce. Now, if you do use the warp function, there is an extra cost associated with that, because obviously Xanato incurs an extra cost. But you don't necessarily have to use the warp function. So, great way that you don't have to spend 50, 60, 70, 80, 90,000 PED to buy your own warp-capable ship. You can simply rent one for 100 PED a day, and because of the way the game mechanic is set up, you don't even have to provide collateral. You just have to let him know what day you're wanting to rent it, pay the 100 PED a day fee, tell him who all is going to be coming with you so they can get added to the guest list. Now, the one drawback is you cannot like start a warp service, because he has access to the guest list, not you. So you could be out advertising, hey, we can do warps, and somebody could say, hey, I want to do a warp. Well, you're not going to be able to let them, because they won't be able to get on the ship. You wouldn't have a way to do that. But that's the downside to not having to actually trade the deed over and not have to deal with the huge collateral requirement that would normally be associated with it. So I wanted to put this out here because I think there's just not a lot of players that know about this rental service. I think there's a lot of players who don't understand it. And I think there's a lot of players who look at the cost and they go, man, you know, I don't want to pay 2,500, 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 PED to rent a tier 9 high DPS weapon for 4 weeks. Well, if you actually sit down and do the math for trying to craft the weapons yourself, trying to craft the amps yourself, trying to source them off auction yourself, and then also factor in the fact on top of that, that the unlimited weapon is tier whatever it is versus your brand new stuff that you craft or buy being tier 0, slowly ticking up, 90% of it only getting to tier 3, maybe 4 if you're lucky, and then at 1 or 2, maybe 3% of your weapons getting up to tier 7, 8, or 9 if you're super lucky. It is clearly a smarter choice to simply rent it than it is to actually go the way of trying to do what I did. I've tried all 3 methods, and I highly regret not just doing a rental every stinking time. It would have saved me thousands and thousands and thousands of PED, which is why I already put a deposit up for Summer Mayhem. I'm not going through that again, what I went through at Easter Mayhem. It just was not worth it. It was a total and utter disaster. I made it work, but it cost me a small fortune to do. So that being said, you know, like I said, it's also one of those things, it lets you guys have more options. Let's say you want to go from hunting laser or BLP to suddenly hunting melee. Well, we've got some great melee weapons available. We've got some great melee amps available. You don't have to try and track them down. You don't have to tie up 20, 30, 40,000 PED to do it. So super good there. Let's say you want to go out and do some repair skilling, or you want to be a Fapper for hire. Like I said, there's no better way to do it, especially if you're pressed for time. Now, if you're playing 24 hours a day around the clock, maybe it's a little bit different. If you've got $20, $30, $40,000 to invest in game, maybe it's a little bit different. But if you're trying to play smarter, not harder, and you're playing with a time constraint, this service will allow you to do a ton of different things for a much cheaper price than you would normally be able to. So I'm going to leave it right there for now. I've got a lot more videos coming for you guys over the next couple of days. Be sure and check those out. Some on Cali, some on Next Island, as well as the Uber Mind Force guy that's going to drop a lot of people's jaws. We're going to be gearing up for Summer Migration and Summer Mayhem in the next couple of weeks, so be prepared for that. For right now, hit that little bell icon to subscribe. Hit the like button, because there's a lot of haters out there hitting the dislike button, including a new one who was caught scamming at Boreas. Video coming about that probably sometime tomorrow. You guys will love it. I'm going to call it Hunting Pro 2.0 because it seems that he's been reincarnated, or at least reincarnated with the spirit of Hunting Pro. So keep an eye out for that one. Also, head over to earnped.com, because when you guys earn, we earn. That is by far the best way you can help support us. And if you're interested in any of these rentals or want to know more about the service, get a hold of my good friend Xanato. You can find him on the in-game user register, Xanato Xan Kaso. That's Xanato Xan Kaso, K-A-S-O. Great guy. Love doing business with him. He's always treated me really good, and he always goes above and beyond to make sure the rental experience is a great experience. So we will be back with more videos for you real soon. Till then, sip, smack. Y'all know the rest. And take care, Stevies. See you guys.